It's not that hot in terms of like actual air temperature of my area. It's just hot in my room. It isn't even hitting the 80s on the house thermostat. It just feels like, I don't know, 86 and humid in my room, and it's gonna get worse. But I figured I could stream just a little bit because I'm sure as fuck aren't streaming tomorrow because it's gonna be way worse tomorrow. 6-hour power outage for me yesterday, by the way. Yeah. You gotta love it when it's so fucking hot that everyone turns on their air conditioning, and then the power company that has a fucking regional monopoly and doesn't have to update the infrastructure and can make unlimited amounts of money is like, oh, sorry guys, you know there's one time of the year in which we all need to use power or else we're gonna fucking die of heat stroke? Yeah, you can't all use the power at the same time. You're all gonna have power outages. And it's just like you have one fucking job. And of course this is when everything's gonna fucking fail. No internet for 6 hours, scary thought. I mean, if you have your phone, it's not a big deal. The cell phone towers don't go down. I'd much rather have air conditioning and no internet than no internet and no air conditioning. Wait, no. How am I saying that wrong? I'd much rather have air conditioning and no internet than have internet and no air conditioning. Billions must die of heat stroke. I mean, it's not actually an exaggeration because parts of India, and India's population is like 1 billion, right? Are gonna have insane heat stroke going forward with global warming. So literally billions are gonna die. Feels good, man. I live in an area where there's very little reception for phones. You should have insert cell phone company where they claim they have better reception than others. I don't know, Verizon. Can you hear me now? It was basically no internet or power. Back in my day, that was normal. I particularly enjoy it when old people who grew up without air conditioning are like, ha, I never had to use air conditioning when I was a kid. You kids you're fucking spoiled. Not realizing that their bodies just don't recognize that they're dying from heat stroke because they're too fucking old, so their ability to sense, you know, their organs shutting down is also failing. So then they just die. This happens particularly a lot in Japan, where the government have to keep on issuing statements of telling people to turn on their fucking air conditioning. And old Japanese people are like, nah, ha, I'll win. And they do not win. The 10,000 degree Japanese heat and humidity just straight up kills them. I went on a night walk and did stretches. That's also part of the problem of me, is that I have to work out every day. But I sure as fuck aren't gonna go around jogging when it's like 90 degrees. But then I have to go to fucking Planet Fitness. So I usually go to Planet Fitness in the middle of the night when there isn't any other annoying human beings. But because we have July 4th weekend coming up, it's closing early today. And has limited hours tomorrow, so I don't know how I'm gonna work out. I guess I'm gonna jog late at night tonight, and then go tomorrow and sort of brave being around people, but I have to work out to reduce my stress, and yet if I have to go to the gym and there's other human beings there, then that alone is like, you know, a shit ton of stress, so it sort of defeats the purpose. I wish I lived in Sweden so I never experience above zero temperatures. Yeah, but then you'd be surrounded by, like, Swedes. A fate worse than death. They'd force you to go into sauna. If you see a lady walking at night, make sure to protect her from creeps by always jogging behind her at a brisk pace. I remember when I was in college and I was just hanging out alone by myself. I would do silly shit like run at top speed in the middle of the night, walking back from like a park, and there were other college people and they saw me coming from like a mile away, and like the guy had to step in front of his girlfriend to protect her from a possible insane psycho and shit, and I was just like, geez. Haven't you seen someone running before? I tend to have that effect on women. It's funny how we basically base all of our actions on what's normal and abnormal, on like how someone's dressed. So if you're wearing quote-unquote proper jogging gear, what we consider to be normal, you're allowed to run around. But if, say, you're a black guy running in jeans, you're immediately going to get shot by the cops just to be safe, because you probably stole something, right? Can you say having a character named Aubrey in your manga is like Lord of the Rings having a Sam, or Game of Thrones having a Jamie, a random normal name? I will have lots of weird normal names in my manga. I've had one chapter. You don't know whether it's going to be a Game of Thrones or something yet. And the answer is it won't. This is the same world in which one of the characters is named Mr. Dickens, Richard Dickens, both of which are normal names. People like to judge based on appearances. That's right. That's why I only try and associate with extremely attractive women with pink hair. Meaning you'll actually finish it? Silence. We're going to find out now, aren't we? Whether I finish it or not depends entirely on whether you people continue to give me money. Because I sure as fuck aren't going to be able to survive if I don't get the Patreon bucks, considering how many hours of work I'm putting into just drawing this shit. Have you seen that Cheeton mascot making the rounds? No. I'm actually not on the internet that often, unlike you people. I have to stare at a fucking manga page for 10 hours a day. Aubrey is a French name that means powerful elf in ancient Germanic. Who could have known that? I did, because I googled the names beforehand to make sure that none of the characters' names mean like loathsome dung eater or something like that. Both Aubrey and Xana are names that mean elf. You can survive since mommy feeds you? I mean, for now. She's going to be dead soon. I think it's highly likely that my mother dies before I finish this, so... Considering that I'm struggling to finish a fucking single page per day. Not a good sign. It's not like there's going to be someone called Smith or Tanner either. You mean Tanner from high school? Hey Chuds, this is Tanner from high school. Just want you guys to know that I saw your silly little manga that you're drawing online. That's cool. I always remember you back in class. You always drawing your stupid little doodles. Remember Samantha, the hot chick that you said you liked? Yeah, I'm fucking her right now. God damn it, Tanner. You doubt the power of the Japanese female lifespan? Look, I'm being optimistic here when I say my mother will be dead soon. Unfortunately, there's a non-zero chance that I might die before her. The way Japanese women's lifespan goes. It's just like, yeah, here we are. I'm at 70. My mother's still going. Baal's mom might not live as long as average because she seems to not want to be pampered. I don't think it has much to do with whether you're pampered or not. You could say that a lot of Americans are the most pampered human beings in life because they fill their body with shit tons of corn syrup and then get diabetes and then have the American medical system pamper them further by paying for their medical costs through Medicaid or shit like that. So it's way more effective to just take care of your own health than be pampered by expensive medicine, I would say. It's interesting to draw characters with expressions while having a voice that sounds emotionless. I didn't do this much in chapter 1, but once chapter 2 is done, you'll see that this is being a rom-com. It's almost entirely about people's internal lives and what they're thinking and feeling and shit. And this is coming from somebody who basically has zero empathy and very little ability to understand nonverbal communication. So you could say that I'm living vicariously through my manga characters because I can't experience or feel anything on my own. Do the people who commission you give you the jokes, info of the thing they want drawn to make a funny piece or image, or is that your input? They usually give me like some kind of idea and then I have to make it better because most people are not talented like I am. This is the Patreon requests, which I try and make entertaining. The actual commissions, which is a separate payment system I have, I draw exactly what the people ask me to draw, which is usually hyper-specific and probably sexual in nature. So if they say she has to have a 13-inch penis, then I have to draw a 13-inch penis. I don't usually post these on my main Twitter account because nobody cares about that content except the person who's doing the commissioning, so you guys don't actually want to see that stuff. Say 13-inch penis 3 times? No. The bane of Baal's existence, but isn't that any job? As much as I complain about shit, especially now that I've experienced the good life, where I get to draw my own manga and actually draw stuff that I think is good quality. We're all prostituting ourselves in one way or the other to make money. We all have to humiliate ourselves to some degree. Unless you're, you know, a trust fund baby and money just comes in due to interest or some shit like that. As long as you have like an actual job, there's some amount of humiliation ritual going on. Even Elon Musk, who thinks that he's god of all human beings and thinks that he doesn't have to be humiliated, is regularly humiliated on his own website. So, yeah, we can't really avoid it, can we? Please draw Bocchi the Rock with a shirt that says Bocchi the Cock while she has a massive bulge in her pants that's actually just a banana. Gary, age 43. You have no idea how much worse my, the shit I get commissioned for are. That actually has a joke in it. I think you vastly underestimate the specificity of people's fetishes and stuff. You're just a vehicle for their twisted fantasies. And it has to, they have to perfectly fulfill whatever they're envisioning in their mind. This is why AI, despite getting way better, will not take the place of the commission business, because it gives you a picture that looks good in most cases, but that's not as important for commissioners who want hyper-specific situations. Do you puke while drawing commissions? Not really. In the first like 5 minutes when I'm reading the commission, I'm like, God damn it, why do I have to sell my soul? And when I actually start drawing, like the brain just turns off. That goes for anything. It just becomes an issue of making sure all the lines meet in the right way, and this is why it doesn't really matter whether I'm drawing my own stuff or commission once you actually get to the execution stage. Once you actually get to like putting everything on paper, inking and stuff, it's just like, it's all the same. It's just so much grinding. Unless it figures out how to have more than one person copulating, there's still hope. As someone who looks at a lot of AI porn, I can say for sure that gangbangs are extremely difficult. It can only do specific angles. It's really good at doing difficult three-dimensional angles that lower quality artists would have a lot of difficulty imitating. But it's not doing it based on like knowledge of three-dimensional objects in space. It's just basing it off, you know, patterns of other images that is in its system. So once it starts to get more complex with like multiple people, it can't think in like logically like, okay, this guy's standing over here, which means his arm would be this long, so it'd be over here and shit like that. It just becomes it starts to become more and more of a mess. If you were to have sex, what position would be your fave? I don't know. I'm not having sex. Because I'm an extremely fit and attractive male, I would have to pick up the woman and do full Nelson to display my physical strength and massive cock. Watching AI porn feels similar to being aroused by inanimate objects. I mean, that's not that abnormal. People jack off to inanimate objects all the time. I say as I hot glue my Hatsune Miku statue. I have preferred doggy style for years, but hentai has made me reconsider missionary because of mating press. I've actually thought about this for a second, and people who have Asperger's have difficulty with eye contact. So there's like a non-zero chance that if I start making eye contact with a female during sex, my boner dies. People with Asperger's either make too much eye contact or not enough. This is a very real thing, unfortunately. They either like stare directly at your eyes because not understanding that you're not supposed to do it, or they look down and don't make eye contact at all. It's just eyes, BB. It's not fucking eyes, dude. It's you're looking at the other person. You're making a personal relationship. What do you mean it's just eyes? That's like the most terrifying and horrifying thing you can do in the world. You think people die by just getting killed by random people that they don't know? No, you get killed by the people you know, and often the people you love or thought that you loved. Any kind of personal connection, you're opening yourself up and making yourself vulnerable. It's like sticking your cock in a paper shredder. It's just that you non-Asperger people have deluded yourself into thinking it's safe. I guess I'll just wear a full face mask. I'll just show up and be like, hey wifey, honey, from now on I'm going to be wearing this anonymous mask while we have sex, while we make love. Also, I'm gonna chain you to the bed so you can't possibly hurt me emotionally. Also, I'm gonna need you to wear a paper bag as well. Not that you're ugly or anything. Haha. I would never accuse you of being that way. The executioner's mask stays on during sex. Yeah, we can have... You can choose from the variety of this iron mask, this plague doctor mask, this Leatherface mask. Homie, just say you like free use. Man, I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have STDs. It would make the whole concept of walking up to a random public restroom and seeing a woman tied up much more attractive. But in the world in which AIDS and, you know, crabs and HPV and all that stuff is a thing, I would never stick my penis in a public use hentai situation ever. Horrifying. It would still be gross. Yeah, true. We should limit our weird public use sex to just normal male on male blowjobs in the bathroom of the Starbucks. You know, normal heterosexual shit. I know Ishizoku reviewers said they magic away STDs or whatever, but so don't want sloppy seconds from a monster guy. I mean, if I didn't have to worry about disease, it would make it much better, but just being around people in general makes me so I don't think I would, even that would be not enough. I was forced to go to Planet Fitness yesterday, like during the daytime, because of my mother's schedule. So this was when there was like actually a lot of people there, and I thought I had gotten on the elliptical machine at the farthest row of the line of elliptical machines, so I wouldn't have somebody start using the elliptical machine next to me. And then some guy who's clearly has some kind of workout routine comes up right into my field of view, like about 5 feet away from the back or the front of the elliptical machine, and he starts doing push-ups. But he doesn't just start doing push-ups. He'll do like 5 sets of push-up, and then he'll rest by sticking his ass in the air, like wheelbarrow style. Like he's bent in half, and he's like sticking his ass in the air right in front of my fucking face. He's basically doing a variation of the Jacko pose. so I can see his fucking ass just like stuck in front of me. And he kept on. I was like, okay, this is push-ups. He's surely not going to keep on doing this for so long, right? He did it for like fucking 5 minutes. I was just like, honestly, it felt like being raped. You know, he was sticking his asshole in my face, and I was just like, what the fuck am I going to do? Should I just get off this elliptical machine right now? I mean, I guess I should be grateful that he didn't just pull down his pants and like goatsy me or some shit, but it was just, it was absolutely horrifying. I don't understand how people can handle this shit. How the fuck are people okay with being around other human beings? It's so fucking disgusting and awful. This is why I go to Planet Fitness at 3 in the morning when there's literally nobody there except me and like the employee who's sleeping. We're not little pussies. Look, you guys, if you enjoy seeing guys' assholes presented to you in front of your face, go ahead and do it. There's lots of other people like that at the gym. But me, I'm gonna go to the leather club that's 2 blocks down. I prefer that. You have made me feel disgusted from the other side of the world. I wish he had just done normal push-ups. Then he would have been done after like 1 set of 20 or whatever and gone away. But because he was doing his special ass-up push-ups, I got to examine his butt cheeks for a solid 5 minutes, and I kept on being like, no, don't look at it. That ass doesn't exist in front of you. As long as you pretend that it's not there, it can't hurt you. The push-up guy's ass isn't real. It's not in the room right now. I only go to restaurants to spend time with my family. I'd rather eat alone in my room, at most a car. That's another thing. You know that you're an introvert or possibly have Asperger's when you definitely don't want to eat with other human beings. Have you seen like all the posts about like how sad it is to eat alone? Whether it's in anime or like Western media or whatever. There's all these people talking about how like they have nobody to eat lunch with, and I'm like, I fucking hate eating my food with other human people. It's the absolute worst. I always want to eat alone. It bugs the fuck out of me having to eat with other human beings. Three things when humans are most vulnerable: eating, shitting, and sleeping. These are times when you can easily be attacked by predators and stuff. So I feel like as an introvert who sees other people as other humans as a threat, it's just natural for me to not want to be around other people when I'm eating. But some people, they're okay with doing all of those things as communal activities, but I will never understand that. Get anxiety when eating around other people. I remember in college and in work when I still had to go to the office, I've had multiple situations in which people will look at me in the cafeteria or whatever eating alone, and they're like, hey, you want to eat with us? I'm like, no, don't want to eat with you. I bailed on that social scene hard. Do we have any extroverts in chat? Actually, I shouldn't even ask that, because extroverts don't think that they're extroverts. They just think that they're quote-unquote normal. They'll be like, haha, why are you guys being so weird? Let's go eat lunch together, bro. Like normal people. To which I say, fuck you. Don't ever fucking talk to me again. You all ready for the 4th tomorrow? Some people are not Americans in here. I will not be celebrating 4th of July because, fuck that. I get more energy being around people if that qualifies. Yeah, that's the very definition of an extrovert, basically. When you're... The easiest way to tell whether you're extrovert or introvert is when you're kind of feeling down and you need to recharge in some way. If you're an introvert, you're going to go and try and be alone, and if you're an extrovert, you're going to try and be surrounded by other people. And that's how you recharge. So as an introvert, I must lock myself in a darkened room and have no human contact for the next, 2 days. And then I can recover. I feel the same way around people and alone. I feel no difference. What is this, an AI post? Thanks for the advice, ChatGPT. I feel safe at the graveyard. We already have enough goths in chat. We don't need any more. The dead can't hurt you unless you're fucking their corpse and they give you some sort of weird illness. But besides that, they're not gonna hurt you. Did you try making AI songs on Suno? It's so much fun. I don't even know what that is. Is AI more protected in the music industry? For a while it seemed like there was going to be like a huge gap between what kind of AI programs songs would be able to get away with versus what they were getting away with like drawings and shit, because the music industry would be like, no, you better not fucking sample Taylor Swift. We're gonna come and rape your ass. But I don't know if that's still the case. Picnicking in graveyards is the best. Honestly, I don't see any point in picnicking as a whole. Why go and eat outside? It adds nothing to my enjoyment. The music industry is using AI a shit ton. I think Taylor Swift and Katy Perry both used it for their recent releases. Did they say they were? Or do you think they just reused it? I don't think the music industry is using anything that's like legally gray. They care about that type of lawyer up shit more than anybody. I mean, I guess if the three gigantic music label oligopolies all decided that they were okay with it, then it would be fine, because it's literally just like 3 record companies. But to enjoy the natural environment with food, it's my favorite outdoor activity. The graveyard is not the natural environment. It's a carefully maintained, manicured lawn full of gravestones. AI is only a problem if you're poor? I'm not sure. We haven't had a lot of lawsuits yet, but that shit can change quickly, depending on how a judge feels. We just haven't had enough lawsuits to really find out. Didn't, wait, I can't remember what happened. Didn't Ice Cube get away with sampling, Under Pressure, the Under Pressure beat or whatever? I can't remember what the most blatant examples of this type of like sampling shit is. But maybe if he can get away with it, then you can get away with using AI too. Wasn't that Vanilla Ice? Did I say? Oh, that's right. Excuse me. I'm getting my Ice Cube and Vanilla Ice mixed up. Yes, that's what I meant to say. Ice Cube is always on my mind, whereas Vanilla Ice is only on my mind when I talk about JoJo and sampling Queen songs. Dun 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 dun. Under pressure. They are the best people to have lunch with. They never interrupt you or chew obnoxiously. If you're talking about the dead, I hope that you get murdered by a bunch of zombies, Hystrixia. Then we'll see what kind of obnoxious chewing they do to your body. If there's one thing I've learned from Resident Evil, it's that zombies do a lot of obnoxious chewing. While Jill makes noises. That shit was so hot, by the way. Capcom definitely knew what they were doing. Thanks, Ball. Yeah. I probably don't need to wish for you to be killed by zombies. You're probably taking active steps to make sure that the zombies come and eat your flesh or something. Unfortunately, necromancy doesn't actually happen in real life, so the chances of that happening are very low. Go out of this world getting eaten out. Let's give this giant monster man a tentacle hand. Great call. Jill exists to have biohazard babies and not have children with Chris. Is Jill your favorite RE female? Yeah, it's Sheva, probably. I don't particularly like black characters, but I'll make an exception for black characters designed specifically to tantalize my penis by Japanese software developers. I also like Master Raven. Jill, I like Jill in her Resident Evil 1 remake beret and military getup more than the other variations, honestly. I think that's my favorite version of Jill. She was still fresh and young. I just like the military getup. RE3 Jill was already getting into single MILF territory. Chris makes a lot of hubbub about how Leon isn't fucking Claire, but he's also ignoring the fact that nobody is fucking Jill either. Although it doesn't really matter because she's not, you know, maintaining the Redfield bloodline like Claire is. What's your opinion on Rebecca? How old is Rebecca? Is Rebecca in the zone where all the Twitter people are like, no, you can't sexualize her, she's too young? Chris is too busy wanting to fuck Wesker. He's trying to stop Wesker from total global saturation. Please understand. Not everybody has time to, you know, fill up Jill's drying up ovaries. Jill is his best friend. Not someone to have sex with, that would be creepy. My internet went out. Did I miss any cool ball wisdom? My wisdom was, I don't know. I think you were here when I was saying fuck extroverts. I already said that. Fuck Jill. Literally. Jill and Nemesis. Together forever. Do you measure the comic window frame gaps to be even or just wing it? You mean the distance between each panel? I don't measure them, but I base them based on how important I feel. I base it on like reading timing. So if I feel like there's a large gap in time between one panel to the other, I'll give it a larger gap to simulate the passage of time between each panel. I try and do this in some subtle way, but yeah, I don't actually measure anything. Japan coastal vibes, lo-fi mix for focus and relaxation. Japan has got to be the most abstract country in the planet at this point. Everybody's just like, oh, Japan. Yeah, let's actually listen to what Japan coastal vibes sounds like. We know that it can't actually possibly be Japan coastal unless there's some clunk, 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 which it doesn't seem to have. Japan so magical, it's the utopia we all want. Anime has had disastrous effects on the psyche of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So comfy. Just want to live in my comfy location in Japan. Near the sea, listening to my lo-fi while I draw anime. Isn't that right, fellow white people who want to live in Japan? Japan is an incredibly comfy country to live in if you don't have a job, by the way. This is a big if. If you've already made your money like PewDiePie, then Japan is most definitely a very comfy country, and you should live there. And pay like the $1 gazillion of tax that the government is going to take from you. Especially at the current exchange rate. How long can you last in Japan before you settle down? What do you mean by settle down? Shouldn't have nuked Japan? Whatever. People pretend like nuking Japan was the biggest thing that ever happened, but before they nuked Japan, they also like firebombed Tokyo and stuff. It's all sort of part of the process. It's not like America wasn't committing kind of atrocious shit in war before they nuked Japan. It just gets way more publicity. Knock someone up. Yeah, you have to have sex to do that. I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. Someone would have to fucking throw their body at me. America won, clueless. I mean, it is a point though. If you win, you get to say anything was justified. I will go there, and being the Western mutt that I am, I will surely bag a cutie Japanese delicious brown girlfriend who totally will like me just because I'm a Westerner, disregard the fact that I'm a 3/10 out best. It's actually more realistic than you might think it is. We all hope that these annoying weebs that go to Japan and expect the Japanese woman to, you know, fall head over heels for them will get humbled, but I think like a solid 50% of them, even if they're 3 out of 10, are gonna actually be very successful being a white person in Japan. Drawing detailed strap gap? I don't think there is any strap gap. What are you talking about? I don't understand the concept of the strap gap. This is a robe, if that's what you're talking about. Japan lost their hot bearded men with occupation. Yeah, beards are not in style anymore. You're gonna have to go to the gay club, I guess. There's still guys with beards if you go to the gay scene. But yeah, you're not welcome there, so. My shoulder. Oh. The main reason we nuked Japan with civilian population was pulling literal terror tactics on the occupying soldiers, like suicide bombing tank crews and hitting troops with little wooden sticks. The number one reason why Japan was nuked was because Soviets were invading from the north, and America didn't want to have a Germany 2.0 situation in which they'd split the country with the Soviets. This isn't just like really a conspiracy theory, it's pretty much agreed upon. Also, they wanted to test the fucking bomb out. If nuclear hadn't been dropped on Japan, the Japan we know wouldn't have emerged and would have become an uninteresting militaristic country. Dropping the bombs was the best choice. That's assuming that Japan wouldn't have lost and wouldn't have had its military organization taken apart either way, which is quite an assumption considering that they were pretty much down to their last military resources by the time they got nuked. I highly doubt that. They would have been occupied by America one way or the other. The question is, would they have had the kind of like Germany situation or not? Probably. People who join Japanese culture should be grateful to America. Yes, Japanese culture definitely came from America, guys. Because Japan didn't exist before World War II. If only Japan... If America didn't come to Japan and teach them all the amazing stuff about, you know, drawing tentacle porn and shit like that, we wouldn't have any of the cool anime and stuff that we all enjoy today. Thank God Henry Ford went to Japan and taught them everything they know. America literally refused to sign a treaty prior to the war that said the Japanese were of equal humanity to Europeans, so yeah, America was going to act a fool. I mean, it's a pretty simple situation in which both America and Japan wanted to colonize the shit out of islands in the Pacific. It's not that complicated. It's just how block economies worked at the time. It's always pretty funny when people talk about like the horror of Axis powers invading all these other countries, and then the countries are like, you know, British occupied Burma and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you know, the country that is also being occupied by the Allied powers. Do we see the irony here? No. For real though, if Tezuka never saw a Donald Duck, hentai would be very different today. I mean, hentai didn't really develop during Tezuka's time. Also, I don't think the Disney era of Tezuka actually influenced what we like about Japanese culture that much. It was sort of like his starting point, but then what was really impressive about Tezuka was that he learned so much from other non-Disney shit, you know? Disney never made an animation about fucking Hitler, right? Or Buddha. That's what makes Tezuka special. It was his huge wide variety of influences and how he did extremely serious and complicated stuff alongside his children's shit. Nagai was more influential in the hentai scene than Tezuka. Go Nagai made a manga called Harenchi Gakuen, Harenchi being like perversion and stuff, and it featured the act of kids flipping the skirts of their female teachers, which apparently was a novel new invention concept at the time in the 70s. And so many kids started imitating the manga, it became like a huge social problem because all these fucking perverted elementary school kids learned that it was okay to flip the skirts of their female teachers. It was a different time. You know, you could just like casually sexually assault your teacher and not get in trouble. You'd get a stern scolding. That's crazy, I did that too, LOL. Kids are all horn dogs. Just because we haven't reached puberty yet doesn't mean we aren't like, you know, rapists at heart. Why the fuck did the kids have access to that work in the first place? Because it was being published in a magazine for kids, that's why. It was a different time. The 70s were like, we shouldn't show that to kids. It's bad influence. They might learn that smoking is bad for them. Shonen magazines were wild back in the days. I mean, they're still pretty gory, and there's a wide variety of stuff that you can read in Shonen Jump or Magazine or Sunday. Magazine in particular has always had way more like sexual and adult content because it would have delinquent manga. You'd pretty frequently have delinquent manga in magazine where like some girl would be getting raped or something like that. The shonen genre isn't actually for kids, it's for young adults. So it goes all the way from like 12 to 40-year-olds, you know. The actual kids magazines were Koro Koro and Bon Bon, but Bon Bon is dead. teenagers. Although I remember I used to read BaalBud as a kid, and there was a specific episode in which there was like a short one-shot manga about a guy who, what was he specifically? He became like a ghost in a Japanese bathhouse, and because of the bathhouse, he was, it was basically porn for like 12-year-olds. It was just tits and ass, the entire manga. Just straight up naked titties hanging out. I should try and find that comic again. I can't remember how explicit it was, but it was pretty fucking explicit, I'm pretty sure. The plot was that he became... I think they like developed some kind of out-of-body experience drug, and both him and his grandfather, who was a huge pervert, had access to this. So they were all... they were both in the bathhouse, and he was trying to stop the perverted ghost of his grandfather from peeping on the girls, but he had to be in the bathhouse to stop him. And lots of hijinks of people's... of nosebleeds occurs as he's as a ghost. He's flying around and getting caught between girls' titties as they wash themselves and stuff like that. This is the thing about BaalBud, is that it was way more sexual than Koro Koro. Hey, what's up? I mean, BaalBud had this Pokemon imitation. I wonder if you guys have heard of it. Robot Ponkotsu. Remember when Pokemon came out and there were like 10 million franchises that were trying to become Pokemon 2.0? So, because BaalBud missed the opportunity to get Pokemon, which they forever regretted, they were always on the back end trying to find other franchises that could rival Pokemon. Well, this was one of them. It's called Robot de Ponkotsu, but it had a manga. Here we go. Yeah, the author, his female characters started relatively human-shaped, but as the franchise went along, they started to get these insane 90s proportions like this. Now this here is like a true 90s body types right here. Look at that shit. This is a kid's manga right here. Based. This is art. I know, right? The man knows what he wants. Those look like they're made of cotton candy. That man knew what he wanted. Yeah, and it got larger and larger. Like, this is probably like the earlier stage, right? As it gets bigger, it starts becoming like this. Like, look at this shit. Like, I can't even tell what I'm looking at. It's just like circle, hair, boob, boob. It goes directly into the fucking thighs. Yeah, this is early, when it was relatively... And then when you get into the late version, it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is this? He was, I remember as a young man feeling something there. Remember the Pokemon manga drawn by hentai artist, The Electric Tale of Pikachu? Yeah. What really stuck in my mind was Street Fighter Yonkoma Gekijo. This was in a child's magazine in the 90s, but it was the author who did Yakitate Japan after that, and he was insanely good at drawing in general. We're not getting any good images of it, but man, that guy was good at drawing women. I think this is because emphasizing key parts like the chest or hips can hide the inadequacies in drawing skills. It doesn't matter if you're cheating or not. The end goal is to have big fat titties. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, ignoring a lot of rules about anatomy and stuff to get there. Art must be appealing, not correct. That where all those very thin but toned early cami images come from? Is that... Yes. If you're talking about a manga with like really hot Street Fighter females where camis looks incredible, it's from that guy. He was an amazing artist, even though that was like his first manga. And then he did like specifically ecchi stuff after that. Like, I have some books of his from a series that got canceled very quickly after he did Street Fighter. That was entirely about some sexy Japanese TV newscaster woman, and it was just like him drawing sexy females. And after Yakitate Japan, now he's just drawing porn. The man knows what he wants. You mean Masapi Obari? Maybe. I never remember the names of the actual author. He's one of the rare people that actually went from being a successful, safe for work artist to being a porn artist just because he liked drawing. Just drawing titties too much. Many such cases, but actually not many such cases. Oh, it's called 一つ爆笑4コマギャグ外伝. And the author's name is Hashiguchi Takashi. This is my childhood right here. If you can see, he's just super good, even from a really early age. This is the first fucking page right here. And then he moves on to doing stuff like the yo-yo manga. I don't know if any of you have seen that. Man, we had so much Street Fighter content back in the day. I hope people scan this shit. It's not easy to find. This is great content, by the way. When I search their anime name, Yakitate is the only thing that comes up. They did a bunch of quote-unquote stuff. Let this be a lesson to you that when all of you Western weebs think that you know shit about the Japanese manga market, you don't know shit. You really don't. You're only reading like the top surface level stuff. There's an entire different, because like you're only reading Jump, right? You're reading Jump and like some stuff slightly outside of Jump, like Berserk. Isn't Korokoro for kids? Yes. Which is why it makes it all the hotter that the Yakitate Japan author who is drawing yo-yo mangas for kids is now drawing porn. In fact, he's specifically drawing the characters from Yakitate Japan getting NTR'd. He's drawing cuck fetish stuff. It's pretty funny. It's not even a rabbit hole. It's just like there's a manga magazine for every kind of age group. There's manga magazines specifically for people who just play pachinko all day. Why is it always NTR? I mean, if you were drawing a safe for work manga about bread for kids, wouldn't you want to draw a doujin about the girl and that getting like cucked? Seems pretty wholesome if you ask me. Wouldn't it be like super funny if one day George Lucas is like, I know I sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney, but I'm just gonna release my own independently produced movie, and it's going to feature Luke and Leia having incest sex. I'm just gonna produce the content that I always wanted to make, but the movie producing studio heads stopped me. But this was always my original vision for Star Wars. Incest. It's a shame that we don't have more creators that are based in Red Pilled in that direction. Leia gets fucked by Jabba the Hutt for 30 minutes by George Lucas. I mean, I wouldn't even need to see Leia. I just want to see Jabba's cock, you know? I wonder what Jabba's penis looks like. It's probably like a very long prehensile penis. Or else they wouldn't be able to reach into other Hutts, you know? They have to get through 10,000 tons of folds of fat, so... I think it's actually... I don't think George actually has specified this, but it's probably likely that Jabba doesn't have in utero fertilization. They probably just like shit out unfertilized egg or something and then like squirt their semen on it or something. What if Hutts reproduce via mitosis? What's the one where you can cut the planarias in half and then they just like regrow and become two planarias? I forgot what that was called. You just get cut in half and then now there's two versions of you. That's kind of based. I wish I could reproduce like that. Partogenesis. Yeah, that's how I want to reproduce. Next time I get cut in half, we'll see if I can do that. When the EMTs provide show up, I'll just be like, no, 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 don't fix me. I'm cloning myself right now. Don't worry. The life goals of being an amoeba. Have you guys not done that with... I forgot what the English word for it is. The Japanese word is planaria. I think it's still planaria in English. But in Japan, you could just look under a rock and find them pretty easily. And they were big enough that you could see them with your eye. And then you really could just chop them in half and be like, now there's two of them now. Extremely based. It needs to be, it needs to have like clean water and stuff, I think. So if you have a polluted area, you're probably not going to have any of them. Self-cess is more accurate, but yes, I do self-cess every day. But it doesn't result in me splitting, so I don't think it's the same. Finally, an assistant. We'd fight over who would be forced to draw the backgrounds. It's not like I don't want to draw backgrounds, though. It's just that it just takes so much fucking time. Quickly mention Relana's titty armor. Speaking of Relana and speaking about having two of me, I just summoned my Mimic tier and we gangbanged her from both sides. We killed her, giving her STDs from both sides. It was truly high impact sexual violence. Oh, I got to the final dungeon and realized that I had somehow failed to get to like 4 or 5 different chunks of the map. This is kind of my biggest complaint about the Elden Ring DLC, is that it's extremely difficult for me to find how to get to these parts of the map that I can see. But there's all these fucking cliffs everywhere. And I'm trying to be like, yo, just let me get there. But Miyazaki has... It's like the opposite of Skyrim. I was thinking about that. You know how Todd's like, that mountain, you see that mountain? You can go there. It's like the fucking opposite of that. It's like Miyazaki is like, you see that dungeon, you see that mountain, you see that Erd tree? you can't go there because we have all of these fatal cliff drops in between. So you have to find the right bridge of the right part of this dungeon to cross to get there. And it's just like, what the fuck, man? Just let me ride there directly. At least it's not another poison swamp. There is a rot area. I just beat it. Just let me consume. Like, I literally was jogging around the fucking map for hours trying to see if I missed some sort of drop or some way to get to the right location, because I missed so much. And I was like, god damn it, okay, I have to look at I guess I have to look at fucking, you know, online guide, because I cannot fucking find a good chunk of the DLC that I paid for and how to get there. I just wish that they didn't have fall damage, or it was something like if you, as long as you can see it, you can drop onto it without taking fatal damage. I wish it was that way. The way it currently is right now, where there's like an extremely arbitrary difference between a fall that's gonna do like a tiny bit of damage and a fall that's just gonna fucking kill you. I don't know, it's really annoying. There's an area with unkillable winter lanterns unless you parry. Yeah, I found that. That was one of the few parts of the DLC that I was able to beat without getting lost and actually finding it. But I've missed a lot of the beginning areas. It's pretty easy to find the main bosses, but all the other areas I'm having a real difficulty getting to. The way that you get to the Dragon Mountain was fucking stupid. You had to jump down a giant hole in a cave. Oh, by the way, I'm playing offline, so if there's... I think a lot of people are figuring out how to go places because there's a bunch of signs that are telling them you can jump down here, and I'm like, shit, I'm missing all of those. But I don't like having signs up as well because it kind of ruins the atmosphere. You know, it's fun having the try butthole messages every once in a while, but if there's too much, it kind of gets in the way. Get an ice pack vest. At least we got a hint Melina is Mesmer's sister. What was that in the... Oh, I guess there's a giant painting. I couldn't really figure out who the first people in the painting were, so I wasn't really paying much attention to that. Besides, who actually gives a fuck about Melina? They really fucked up making her a interesting character. They should have made her so that whenever you sat a site of grace, she would automatically appear and you would have to talk to her to level up every single time to make us actually care about her. But instead she only shows up every once in a while. I was replaying some of the earlier parts, and I would like get to the capital, and it's like you have an option to speak to Melina, and she would show up, and I'm like, oh, you're still here? Like, I had no fucking emotional connection to her, which means they kind of failed. And now she's like, now I'm gonna set myself on fire. Spoilers. So I'm like, okay, that's cool, bitch. Go ahead. I don't really care about you. FromSoft hates actual characterization. Yeah, well. this is actually worth it. Instead of doing this. Yeah. I'll do something else. She was supposed to have a lot more, but it was cut. Well, then don't cut it. People say as if... People always talk about this in games, like cut content, like, or even anything, like movies, but it was supposed to be... It could have been so great, but it was cut. Well, like, don't cut it then. You made a decision, you know? Especially in the case of Souls games. It's not like, you know... There's a director. It's not like Coppola directing Apocalypse Now or some shit, and the studio is like, please, 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 just make it 3 hours instead of 8 hours. And he's like, no. And then they cut it, and he's like, no, I need the director's cut or some shit like that. We know that Miyazaki got a ton of, you know, creative freedom. If he wanted it so that Melina was your level up mechanic, he could have easily implemented that. She doesn't even have to say everything. He just needs to show up and just be sitting there. There's no reason why they couldn't have done it. They just decided it wasn't important. Which says a lot about From's actual storytelling. People who get huge boners over item descriptions are just giving From way too much credit. Item descriptions are not actual storytelling, as someone who's actually doing a storytelling thing right now. They already delayed it. Elden Ring a ton. It's like one of the best games ever. I think it's fine. It's fine as a video game. It's not fine in terms of like actually making me feel something. Besides, fuck this boss, I'm gonna kill it. It would have been really easy for them to just do some very simple stuff to make Melina a more meaningful character, but they didn't do it. And that's because that's not what From storytelling is about. You don't get it. Miyazaki can't do anything wrong. It's not like Elden Ring is just Dark Souls 4. I do think Elden Ring is pretty amazing in terms of like the level design and stuff. It does the shit that Miyazaki does best very, very well, which is what really matters. But it doesn't actually help on any of the deficiencies that have always been present in Souls games, or even Armored Core. Although beggars can't be choosers at this point because Western game development is functionally dead, so we may as well just live with what we get. We can't be too picky about this shit. Here's a good example. Think about in Shadow of the Colossus, spoilers, at the end of Shadow of the Colossus, when you're going to the final Colossus and you're crossing the bridge and you barely just don't make it, and your fucking horse, what's his name, Argo, is it Argo? Arlo? It definitely sounded something like Argo, falls into the ravine, and it's like, it's just you now. Do you remember how fucking depressing that shit was? You were just like, it's aggro, you're right. Aggro, aggro, you yell. And you have, the game is short as fuck. You've only been with that horse for like 30 minutes, basically, if you're speedrunning that thing. And when you watch that horse fall into the ravine, you're like, no! No! Oh! And then in the ending, when you see that the horse is okay, you're like, oh, thank God. We've literally spawned Satan by killing all these guardian statues, but the horse is okay, so You know what? It's all good. Am I remembering it correctly? The horse is confirmed to be alive, right? It's been a while since I played it. I don't think this horse just died. I can't remember. In the ending. Cool game. It is a cool game. It survives, yeah. As usual, anybody that falls into a deep river at the bottom of a ravine is 100% still alive. But it was a pretty depressing game to begin with, so you didn't know whether your horse had survived or not. It's actually not that hard to create emotional connections with characters in video games, because video game players are fucking saps. You only need to do a very little amount of work and you can easily make them extremely sympathetic. Part of the reason why Souls game characters aren't very sympathetic is because we're so used to everything being awful that we no longer register. There needs to be a very strong sense of hope and that there are good things in the world for you to actually care about the shitty parts as well. And because Souls games are so dedicated to the bit of everything being awful and the only thing that matters is like literally eating shit and cursing everything, it reduces the emotional impact of, you know, any kind of sacrifices characters might make. Shadow of the Colossus minimum storytelling is actually well done, unlike Soulsborne. Yes. The young drow girl sitting on the bed reminds me of my own drow gal sitting on the bed listening to stories from her grandpa, XD. Yes, we all have drow waifus sitting around, guys. What's good in Berserk? Besides Guts and Griffith's homo relationship, everything else is shit and piss eating, all about Guts' life is miserable. Did you not pay attention to every other chapter after the eclipse where he's slowly starting to rebuild his relationships? And he has the fucking lowly witch naked sitting on his thighs. And half the female characters he rescues like don't die and you know, want to get on his dick and stuff. If Miyazaki was writing Berserk, for example, in the what was it called, the religious church arc where there's all those prostitutes, they would all like have died a fucking horrible death. But at the end, when everybody has died in that arc, they're alive in the barrel and stuff like that, right? So Miura was doing a good job slowly trying to make Guts' life slightly less horrible so that he wouldn't just succumb to the despair. See, Milena specifically speaks about births continue, there is beauty in that, but she only tells you that if you attempt to go for the frenzy ending, why the fuck don't we get more of this normally? Such a potential, such a shame. Yeah. I guess I can't give Elden Ring a 10 out of 10 for that reason. Once again, Ocarina of Time is undefeated, it appears. However, it's pretty fucking good. It's a way more fun game than Ocarina of Time, I'd say. I'll tell you that. But if a game doesn't have an ending scene in which all the characters come out and celebrate and reminds me of my journey, then I can't give your game a 10 out of 10. I haven't actually played God Hand, but I know in the ending of God Hand, all the characters that you were beating the shit out of for the rest of the game show up and they all like start dancing and stuff. You need For a game to truly be 10 out of 10, you need to have an ending in which all the characters you met during the playthrough show up and like pat you on the back, and then as the credits roll and it's like special thanks to all these people, you have to get a message that says, and finally special thanks to you, the player. Then it's a 10 out of 10. But if you don't have those two things, it's not a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I need to play God Hand. Very true. Unfortunately, I'm busy drawing manga, so I don't have time. Congratulations to you, the player. And in terms of narrative, if the story is actually the gameplay that you were enjoying during this game makes you a horrible person and you should feel very guilty, then your game gets a 0 out of 10. I'm talking about you, Far Cry and Spec Ops The Line. Nobody gives a fuck about your morality telling me that I shouldn't be shooting people in my game about shooting people. Shut the fuck up. Western video game story narrative design is just awful and they should really just fuck off. It's just makes me want to puke in my mouth that I have to withstand that shit. It doesn't even have to be a happy ending, but at least show me what the fuck happened to all those NPCs I met. Exactly. You need closure of some sort. That's how it works. Have you played Fury? I started playing Fury and I realized I don't enjoy dumb Maku gameplay. And I was like, I don't have time for this. It's a pretty good game, but I don't like the core gameplay, so I didn't finish it. I could pick it back up again, but unlike Dark Souls, which has a lot of very easy mode ways of beating it, it actually doesn't have an easy mode, so I'd have to grind it pretty hard. Like, I can't be arsed to do all the quests in Elden Ring because I know they just end in a random black corpse with NPC items to loot. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it was cool the first time and the second time you did it, but by the 15th time where you're like, hey, Miyazaki, I wonder what happens if I help this NPC's quest. Surely they'll be okay and they'll come off better than they started if I help them, right, Miyazaki? Right? It's like, no, actually, everything is awful. It's like, wow, who could have seen that coming? It's only the 18th time you've done this. Huh. Interesting. Cool, I got a bloody handkerchief and a straight sword with her name engraved in it. Which is why everyone likes Rani, because for once you get your waifu ending in history. In history, for the first time in Souls games history. Well, I guess not the first time, but you do the waifu quest line, and instead of it turning out that getting married, quote unquote, to someone means you show up at the mausoleum and you find her with like a sword stuck in her head, because that's what it means to get married. Instead, you actually get like the marriage ending, so. Super Mario RPG has a whole ass parade, exactly. I complain a lot about Nintendo, and I don't know if it's still this way with current Nintendo games, but at least classic Nintendo games, they really knew how to make it feel like you had spent your time well. I'll give them that. It really felt like you had accomplished something when you beat them, and everyone was celebrating with you. Oh no, there's a corpse near this very significant set piece that I can't interact with that's also very related to the character. I wonder where my friend NPC is. Clueless. She's perfectly fine. Or, oh no, I was invaded by this red phantom. I wonder who this could be. Oh well, I'll just smack them with my extremely overpowered +20 weapon. I wonder why that NPC I was helping hasn't shown up again. What could have happened to them? Don't you dare go hollow. Fia cucking us with a corpse. A giant disgusting fishman corpse at that. Ranny ending was nice, but truly the best ending of any Soulsborne game is the Bloodborne ending where you turn into a gigantic slug and you're held by your doll waifu. She's like, oh, good hunter, you're a slug now. You're a kid now, you're a squid now. The Splatoon ending. Oh, Hunter. It was already disappointing with Solaire. I mean, that was most people's first experience of the Souls narrative, right? So they're like, oh my god, I can't believe this, you know, jolly co-op guy who's just trying to find his son would go and have such a tragic ending. No, Miyazaki is so depressing, so artistic. And by the time you got into Elden Ring, you're no longer a teenager. You're old as fuck and you've seen it a million times, so you no longer, you know, don't care anymore. The doll raising your slug ass's peak. Men only want one thing and it's disgusting. Becoming an elder god slug thing and being raised by their sentient doll in a dream. Didn't George R.R. Martin write Elden Ring's story? Yes, he wrote Elden Ring's story, which is why we have all these shit eaters and incest. And certainly his writing is in tune with depressing shit that Miyazaki does. But at least George's writing seems to be more like shit happens because he had the elements for stuff to happen were already in place. Whereas Miyazaki's depressing shit just seems to happen because that's just the world. The world is a depressing place. According to what I've read, he made the setting and then the FromSoft team shattered it with a literal shattering event and turned it into Dark Souls. That makes sense. Because if there's one thing that George likes, it's having detailed tax policies and shit. If you think about it that way, it's way more satisfying. Imagine if George R.R. Martin was like, hello, Miyazaki-san, yes. This Radagon fellow... Yes, he is a just king, that is true. But what about his tax policy, Yes, this man. How does he rule the kingdom? Is he really a just king? What about his laws? And he's like, here, I wrote 500 pages on Radagon's tax policy to distract myself from the fact that I have not published Winds of Winter. And then Miyazaki is like, oh, thank you, Mr. Martin, thank you, this is great. And then he's just like, boom, everybody's fucking dead, everybody's a zombie now. The lands in between are just a bunch of horrible, shitty zombies crawling around, going crazy, just like all my previous games. And George is like, ah, fuck, well. The more flask of crimson tears she drank, the more she shat, more like the more her hit point regenerated, because those stuff are really good for you. George's vision would allow for you to talk to Marika and put your head between her tits. Yes, you would definitely be allowed to have sex with her, although I think you can have sex with her in the normal ending as well. I think it's heavily implied that you're going to repopulate the world by having sex with her, but it would be like in George's version you would be having sex with her and then you'd be like backstabbed or something. Betrayal event. Who knows? Dark Souls 1 is still the superior game because it has giantess titties. Checkmate Elden Cucks. I can't disagree with that. But of course, if you actually like the giantess titties, then it turns out it's all an illusion, so... It also has the original Bussy. I agree, Dark Souls 1 is goated no matter what. Remember back when Dark Souls 1 was difficult? When you didn't know how to fight Quelag because she was shitting lava everywhere and then she would swing her fire whip once. And people were like, how the fuck do you beat this boss? It's impossible. And you compare that to Elden Ring bosses and it's just like endlessly spinning around, smashing half of the screen with AoE attacks. It took a while for people to play Dark Souls 1 and realize, wait, they can't hit me if I just run up to them and hug their body. Dark Souls 1 is garbage as a video game. Stand still to heal while you're locked on. You can't roll omnidirectionally. I really miss Demon Souls 1 when we were like Flame Lurker. What a boss. You don't understand. People who didn't have a PS3 at the time didn't understand how people were immediately... They were already latching onto this idea that Demon Souls was like a difficult game because you could actually die, because we were at the peak of video game design in the Xbox 360, PS3 era, where game developers tried to eliminate any sort of difficulty and any kind of frustration from the player. So just having a game where you die, people were like, oh my god, this game killed me, what the fuck, this is crazy, oh, the Flame Lurker, oh no. Dark Souls 1 is superior to Elden Ring though, unironically. If you gave someone who hadn't played any Souls games and started them off with Elden Ring and then have them go back to Dark Souls 1, they'd be bored to death though. After they had played like 200 hours of Elden Ring and actually learned how to play the game. Elden Ring improves on the formula in any way. Every way, is what I want to say. Dark Souls 1 has as much content as like a single area. It actually has less content than a single area of Elden Ring, basically. It's fucking minuscule. The only reason that I'm complaining so much about Elden Ring is that because it has a lot of potential that could have been easily realized, because they did all the difficult part of the game making, and there's a lot of easy ways in which they could have made the game better, like having Melina, sit next to you while you're leveling up and shit. That would have been so easy to implement. It'd take like 5 seconds, because she already does that. Just have her do that during every single Site of Grace all the time, you know? It would have literally taken them an afternoon to program, but they chose not to. I bet Miyazaki was like, no, this is too lighthearted. People will start to like the game too much. Those people never played Blade of Darkness. They break their controller when they face the first orc, not even a boss, just a regular-ass grunt. You guys want to know what the actual most difficult Souls-like game is? I'll tell you. I guarantee none of you can play it. It's, or beat it. It's... Here we go. Yeah, here we go. It's Sword of Fortress. The Ono Museum. So the way this works is... Actually, what was it? Well, maybe I can find the YouTube video of the Japanese guy who fucking played it. But the way it works is that you just jog to a location and you fight a single boss. And then after you kill that boss, you jog to another location and fight the same boss. But what's important to remember here is that the boss is just like a normal enemy who swings its sword. And if it hits you even once with its sword, you die. And there's no way to save. There's no way to pause the game. So you have to keep your fucking PlayStation 4 running the entire time. The other thing that's important to remember here is that every single boss you kill, the total hit point of the boss doubles from the previous boss. So if we have any math majors in chat, you can start to do the time calculation. It takes you 5 minutes to kill the first boss, and then 10 minutes to kill the next boss, and then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and so on and so on and so on. However, there's like 13 bosses, and you can't turn it off. Here's the
Before we begin, allow me to paint you the full picture.
I think this is the only guy who's actually played it as a YouTuber. He's a Japanese YouTuber.
General Radahn is cursed ever to wander. Eaten from the inside by Melania's scarlet rot, his wits are long
This is not Sword of Fortress. He always starts a game by playing a game that everyone else is playing. It feels like a kusoge with a strong stench of dung. It is the ultimate of all kusoge. So this guy, the only way to beat it is by keeping your PlayStation 4 running the entire time. And by the time you get to like the 10th boss or so, your PlayStation 4 crashes, so nobody has ever beaten the game. You have to run to the location, by the way. That's also important to remember. Just fight a guy tonight. Go up. Super slow. You can't see your hit points or their hit points. No way to know if you're doing any damage. He just swings his hammer once in a while. Look at that hit collision. The collision is sitting there for the like three minutes. At least the hitboxes are not shit. Yes, they are. You start from the beginning, there is no save. You jog back to it. And so you use your bow and you just poke it.
剣の4分の3くらいの火力らしいです。なのでリスクを冒してまで
Eternally
剣を使う意味は皆無で、このゲームをプレイしていた外国人の兄貴も剣で攻略するとかありえないと言っていますので、これが正解だと思われます。弓地区により2回目の敵を粉砕。
But remember,
私は
it the hit point doubles every single
ちょっと
time.
安心していました。しかしこのゲームの真の恐ろしさはここ
Anyways,
から始まるのであった。
I have huge respect for this Japanese kusoge player because he actually tortures himself
はい、5回目の敵を倒しました。
to play this shit.
確かに弓地区をしていれば勝てるのですが、ここで私はついに8方法で対策を取りました。そのせいで集中力が途中失われたのかもしれませんが、配信中漏らすような
If they hit you once, you die. Again, it's just fucking Chinese water torture. So whenever we say a game isn't very good, we just have to remember that it can be so much worse. So much worse. If any of you want to play it, it's called Sword of Fortress, the Auto Museum. I knew this existed because it would be always on sale on the PlayStation Store, because apparently Sony doesn't do any kind of quality control for their own stores. You just show up and it would be like, hey, look, this game is only $15 right now, and it's one of the worst kusoge you could ever play. No, they do not. I guess it's still better than a lot of the PC gaming stores, even if they allow that, because they don't have like honey pop acid flits and shit. There are always worse games. There's those games in like Steam and other consoles that only exist to give you achievements, like Cookie Clicker-esque games, except they don't even have the same features that Cookie Clicker has. You just click on something and you get your fucking achievement, and that's it. They exist only for achievement points, for people who just absolutely have to have their chivos. That's interesting. You cut off drawing the foot there? What are you fucking talking about? I don't have space to put the foot in. Are you actually complaining that I don't have the entire foot in the fucking frame? Are you actually doing that right now? There's not enough space to put the foot in the frame. Are you actually complaining that I didn't properly adjust the camera so you can see the entire foot? Is that actually happening right now? Like, I can't even tell what's going on anymore. It's like, you should... Why isn't the camera focused on the feet? Jesus fucking Christ. God, I hate foot coomers so much. It's like the CIA trying to create a gay bomb because they thought that by making enemy soldiers gay or something, that would reduce their effectiveness or some shit. You know what would be way worse than a gay bomb? A foot fetish bomb. Because foot coomers are 100% worse than gays. I have never had anybody come into my stream and being like, yes, I see these characters in a heterosexual relationship here, but have you ever considered that they might all actually be gay? Why aren't these two men fucking each other, fucking and sucking right now? I've never had a gay guy show up in stream and ask me that. Foot coomers, on the other hand, as long as they see like an ankle, they're like, excuse me, Mr. BaalBud I, I've noticed that the foot there, I can only see the ankle. The entire foot is not exposed like it should be. Have you ever considered that that character should be not wearing shoes? Just a suggestion. I think this comes primarily from foot coomers living most of their lives with the rest of society being ignorant of their blatant fetishism of feet. So they've been able to get away with like women in summer walking around in flip-flops and just thinking that their fetish is invisible and completely accepted and that they don't have to, you know, hide their boners to the rest of society at all, like people with normal sexual fetishes. So they've just gotten into their habit of being like, yes, yes, can you please show more toes? Yes, please. As if it wasn't blatantly obvious that they're just fucking horny and want to ejaculate on the women's feet. As if we don't notice. Well, guess what? You're not in Normieville, foot coomers. We all know that you want to jack off the feet. We're not here to service your disgusting foot fetish. Please fuck off. You should hide the foot fetish behind the paywall. Yeah, I probably should. You should just censor them on purpose just because. That's right. I should have every character walking around barefoot, except instead of showing their feet and toes, I will have the huge Pixiv Japanese censorship blur around their feet. Because that's what foot coomers deserve. To have their shit censored. Do you have any interest in making hentai? Just curious? Not really, because it wasn't popular. I have things I like, but the internet has decided that they're not interested in my hentai, so I'm not going to make hentai. We have enough data points at this point that we know that the internet doesn't really care about my porn. That's one of the good things about the internet being the format in which you give people your content, is that you get immediate response and you can learn very quickly about what type of things you should be drawing and shouldn't be drawing. Wow, that's pretty good art for a porn artist, as if that even mattered. In general, porn artists have higher skill level than safe for work artists. In general. Because you have to have like, whether you can jack off or not is the number one thing, right? You can't really be like, oh, he's not very good at drawing those titties, but he has an amazing plot, you know? You have to be good at drawing the titties, so... Most porn artists are going to be, on average, better than a safe-for-work artist. Ironically, not most, but the top-tier doujin artists are better artists than even the average quote unquote pro published porn artist as well. It's an interesting relationship. I know, but people tend to undersell actual skillful artists just because of sexual insecurities, like, oh, you draw porn, you aren't a real artist. Well, those are like normies that aren't going to give you money. They don't actually care about quote-unquote art. Art is a vaguely defined thing. It doesn't matter. What matters is the money that you get. That's what matters. If you aren't getting your dough, then nothing fucking matters. Pay me. Being celebrated don't mean shit. Drawing porn requires a certain level of anatomy knowledge, technical knowledge, etc. Exactly. Most people don't actually care about art. The people who care about art the most are a very small subsection of rich oligarchs who are trying to launder money. So you shouldn't really care about that stuff either. Art nowadays is entirely about marketing, so marketing yourself, marketing your art. It's about convincing people that whatever you're producing is worth something. Because whatever you produce, if enough people agree that it's worth something, it's worth something, so. That's what everything comes down to nowadays, not just art. Yes, that's what the NFT market was trying to recreate, for sure. This world of uncertainty. I mean, that's every crypto project, right? This coin is going to be worth so much. You better get in before other people make money, more money than you. Get in while it's hot. And then it fucking crashes and you lose a lot of money, and whoever's doing the rug pull makes a shit ton of money. Repeat that 10 million times. Unfortunately, this current stage we are in capitalism and technological development, we haven't really had anything that is actually particularly useful come out in many years. So it's just people trying to do grifting schemes and trying to convince people that they're selling something that's worth something. Are you sure you want to keep Dr. DDP emotes in your 7TV emotes? I mean, we don't even have 17 emotes activated right now, so does it even matter? And yes, I don't really care if Dr. Disrespect is in my emotes. Don't care. It will just become like Force and CD. Instead of it being an emote that means you're cheating, it's just going to be an emote that you're a someone trying to sext minors so you can have an affair with them or something. Whatever it was he was trying to do. Docking, dock, leave. Honestly, I just don't really care about some vaguely famous streamer trying to have sex with a 17-year-old. That's pretty much what every man does if they have any kind of political power or financial power. The first thing they're going to try and do is have sex with 17-year-olds, so I'm not the least bit surprised. I mean, what happened to Matt Gaetz, who was like trafficking a 17-year-old across state lines? Wasn't his situation like reopened? The investigation was reopened or some shit? Just turns out that Twitch admins are slightly more morally upstanding than, I don't know, the Florida Republican Party or whatever Matt Gaetz is associated with, so the doc is getting in trouble, but everyone else not so much. Matt Gaetz is still having sway over Speaker of the House. Investigation reopened, but nothing happened. The funny thing about Matt Gaetz is he 100% looks like somebody who would be trying to fuck a 17-year-old. He looks smarmy as fuck. Like, if you were a father and, like, your daughter was like, hey, I'm seeing this guy, he's part of the Florida Republican Party, you'd be like, no, absolutely not. If I see this guy around the house, I'm gonna shoot him. Just wanted to say that I really prefer your regular art over your hentai art because I find them much sexier. Your horny safe art is teasing much better, to be honest. See, we have another person saying that thing. There have been many people expressing that opinion. So whoever wants me to keep on drawing porn, you guys are in the way minority. I've heard that so many times. It's just not as popular. If you own a mansion in Florida, the automatic assumption should be some kind of predator, or you're just running a normal meth business. It could be just a normal drug dealer. BB sounds like he owns a katana and a gun. Yes, and I practice them every day. Don't make me pull out my katana. Sensei, please forgive me. I'm gonna have to go all out just this once. Your comics are freaking amazing. Yes, we're trying. We're trying to finish chapter 2. We're not even finishing 1 page a day at this current rate, which is a very bad sign. But instead of playing Elden Ring, if I actually just draw all day like I'm supposed to be, we'll probably be able to make a little bit more progress. Although it doesn't help that I'm spending an hour on dabbing gray areas in the background of this. Part of the problem is that I'm not good enough yet to really figure out how I can start drawing faster, you know? Because part of drawing faster is knowing what you want to do very specifically and then immediately doing it. So if you have any time in which you have to erase shit or like go back and retrace your steps and try something else, you immediately like lose all of that time. It's really bad. People who have weekly manga series going on, they must basically have no time to make mistakes graphically. Whatever they produce, they have to be able to do it on the first try, I'm sure. Soon BB will again blame us for not finishing a page. Yes, it is your fault. How do you turn this comic into money? I need you all to sub to me on Patreon now. That's something I noticed. Every single artist I know have been doing Elden Ring streams for some reason. I was planning to skip Elden Ring because I had to work on my manga. But then like everybody was talking about Elden Ring in Discord and I realized I had done a shit ton of Elden Ring comics before the DLC came out. And everyone was assuming that I was going to be playing Elden Ring anyway, so I may as well just play it. Because I'm going to get fucking spoiled, right? So I was just like, alright, fine. There's nothing I can do to avoid this fate. I'm going to have to play it. And then I was like, yeah, but I'll just play a little bit. And then, of course, I play like, 20 hours. Also have assistants, yes. This is the fault of not having assistants, unfortunately. Especially for shit like backgrounds. That's stuff that you just straight up have the assistant do for you. You gotta do research on the Elden waifus. Hystrixia was really excited about the centipede scorpion lady that shows up at a boss near the end of the game. She's kind of creepy as fuck. I wouldn't call her hot at all. She's like half centipede, half scorpion. Alright guys, I'm gonna end the stream here. It's way too hot in my room. No stream on July 4th. I don't know how much streaming I'm going to be doing actually, because it's just generally hot right now in my room, so we're going to find out how much my heat tolerance is. See you around, guys. Good night.